Hello and welcome back to another rainy episode of FTB Sky Factory 2.5. My name is Twin Minds, and today I'm going to do a bunch of random stuff, because I've got a lot of random stuff piling up here. So, if you notice down here, kind of see it in the background there, but I have managed to update all of my wires to the highest tier. So now my throughput is pretty high if I do need that much energy, but so far I have nowhere near 20,000 RF per tick, so these things should last me quite some time. There are options that go even higher than that, and since one of the requirements is 1,000,000 plus per tick, I will need them eventually. But for right now, this will do me for a long time. I haven't done too terribly much. I have this thing here, which is the beginning plans of my building for Thaumcraft. That structure that you see in the middle is my rough template for what the altar is going to be. I'm fairly certain that layout will work just fine, but if not, I can always adjust it later. I have plans to expand this quite a bit, so you'll probably catch it evolving over time, and I'll try to show it off whenever I make any decent changes. But the first thing I need to do is set up something that I have kind of been putting off for reasons I can't explain. I have very limited amounts of wood left, and I don't want to go back to mining it myself, so that's what I'll be doing here. I'm going to start off with an MFR setup that I mentioned previously, a planter and a harvester. So let's get those things built up. I do need my flower pot, and then I believe I need pistons. Crafted some of this off camera just to get it going, but not all of it. Yes, I need to make my machine frame. Alright, so there's my planter. And the next thing is the harvester. Now, the other option I could do is the farming station from Ender.io, and I probably will make use of that at some point. For a basic tree farm, it's not necessary, but the farming station is really nice in that it can be buffed up quite a bit for speed and size, and that can be useful for when I need a lot of stuff like the Minicio that I've been also putting off. Because you need millions of Minicio to do anything useful. So an Ender.io farm can definitely help with that. But it does have some drawbacks. It requires constantly feeding it with tools, like a hoe and an axe, to actually do the work. So then you have to have a whole crafting setup and all that. So I'm not ready for that quite yet, but a basic harvester setup will do just fine. I did not grab my Invar. And I hope that's all I need, or else I'll be doing another run back. One and two. Am I missing anything else? I'm missing the top one, which is shears. Easy enough. Alright, so there's my harvester. Now, it says it uses 240 RF per work, rather than per tick. So it doesn't use energy when it's not doing work, but when it is doing work, like chopping down trees, each time it does something, like chops a log or breaks a leaf, it will take 240 RF. So this will be intermittent usage. Same with this one, 160 RF per work, every time it has to plant a tree. So this one will not use much energy at all. It's only planting a tree once every once in a while when they grow, so that one's not a big problem. This one's going to use quite a bit of energy over time, but I think I've got it covered for right now. The other thing I need is not mega rubber saplings, because that would be a terrible idea. I did some testing off camera a while ago, and rubber saplings are all well and good, but I tested the megas, which I've seen before in game. Those weren't a shock. I did test the sacreds, because I haven't seen that before. And the sacreds take up roughly as much space as my entire base layout here. As you can see with this, it's roughly 3 by 4 chunks, something like that. The sacred takes up roughly that much space, so it's just enormous. And there's another one that I'm not sure you can get through legitimate means. So if you look at the rubber saplings, you've got the rubber, sacred, mega. That's the opposite order, actually. Then you've got this glowing one, sacred, that says Packrat's World Ship. I'm sure Packrat is some person who had a hand in creating this in the early days. But ultimately, this sacred, I don't believe you can get it through any normal means, but it grows to ridiculous proportions. The trunk alone is, I think, 40 by 40 blocks, and it's easily 30, 40, 50 chunks in diameter. It's massive, and it will kill your lag, kill your server. It's just ridiculous. So it's a scary piece of work, but it's fun if you're just messing around and testing things. So I'm going to grab some of these and then get over to my planter. And I did expand this out just a little bit to have my tiny little tree farm in the back, because ultimately I plan on feeding the wood into these coke ovens, which will cook down to creosote oil for these, as well as cook the wood down into charcoal, which is going to be a fuel source for something else I'm going to be doing. So let's do that. The harvester can go down right there. Actually, I might need to go forward one. That's not enough light. That's unfortunate. Alright, so the harvester's going to go there, and the planter is going to go underneath here. Now this will read the dirt directly above it and plant what's on top of the dirt, so it plants 2 spaces up. And here is the interface, and you can set the filter. Now the filter basically just takes all the 9 spaces that are currently available and lets you choose what's going to go there. So I will do 1 rubber, because I don't need too terribly much of it. And then I will do 4 spruce and 4 oak. I'm doing spruce because I actually like the look of the wood. And I'm doing oak because I need a lot of it, and it has a chance to grow those really large trees, which you get a lot more out of. So that's good. Now I do need to run power to it, like so. And I think I need to dig that one. So I've got power going to the harvester. Now I need to go all the way back. And that will cover these as well. Alright, so I think like so. Because I had an issue over here when I was replacing this thing to move it in the center. I had an issue where these two would connect, which isn't a huge problem, but I would rather those lines be separated for now. So I've got power going over there. Now most of the item transport is going to be in this general region, but ultimately I'm going to have to get the wood all the way back over here. So I'll have to figure out how to do that later. Might just run a single conduit all the way over. Might do something else entirely. I don't know yet. So let's get this going. So it has already planted, like so. So notice it's following my setup. Different orientation, but that's quite alright. Now this is just going to sit and grow. I could bone meal some of them. I could water and can it. There's also another MFR machine called the fertilizer, which does just that. It sits right next to your plot here and will randomly apply bone meal. You do have to feed it with fertilizer, which can be made through a few different means. So I may do that if I need to increase the production, but for right now this is going to be just fine. It'll be slow, but I sit AFK a lot in here just to let things sift and all that. So I'm not worried about that at the moment. I do need to worry about where the items are going to go. So let me gather a few things off camera here and I will return. Okay, so I got some stuff that I need, and I realized I was forgetting one critical component to this setup, and that is a sludge boiler. Sludge boiler is needed because the harvester, while it is chopping down trees and such, it produces sludge as a byproduct. I forgot about that entirely until I saw this tank here and wondered what the heck was going on. So sludge is just a byproduct of chopping down trees. Who knows what the reasoning is for that, but whatever. It's a thing that we have to deal with. Once this tank fills up, it stops working, so it can only run for so long before you need to take care of the sludge, or you need to find a way to process it. And that's what the sludge boiler is for. It actually uses the sludge as a form of fuel and boils it down into random items. The random items, let's see if I can get this to show up here. There we go. So the sludge boiler will produce some items. Good chance of producing sand, clay, dirt, a different form of dirt, gravel, red sand, or I think it's heat sand or whichever. Good chance for soul sand, which is a nice production. Mycelium, podzol, some netherrack, barely a chance for netherrack, but it will be some source of it. There's the heat sand, so I guess red sand is a different thing. And tainted soil. Almost no chance of tainted soil, but whatever. The output from these, you can see my little harvester go there. The output from those are generally not terribly useful, but in a skyblock where generating materials is kind of the way to go, it's a useful thing to have. So I will add that in there and get some stuff processing. So let me go down there and start setting some stuff up. There is a bit of a hazard when using the sludge boiler. In the process of burning sludge, I'm assuming that it's not a very clean process, it does produce a hunger debuff and a poison debuff for anything within 3 blocks or something like that. So it's a good thing to keep this away from the main traffic area. I'm going to plop it over there, I think. And I need to get liquid into it from here. Probably going to need some more pipes for that. I'll need to take care of that in a moment. When you plop a conduit for fluid down next to something that has fluid in it, it just automatically fills up. You can see it says sludge 250 millibuckets. And then the next one that you place doesn't connect because you're placing clean ones. And you're just going to have to wrench it to make it work. So I'll deal with that later. Over the torch. Why not? I do need one more. That's fine. I'll do that later. I also need to feed it power, which means I need more of these things. I could move it closer and get all the wiring in the way, but I want to be able to come over here and mess with my planter if I need to. If I need to change up what trees it's planting without worrying about getting hit with something. So that's why I'm taking the extra effort to put it over there. And I will need a couple more of those as well. So that's a thing. That is fine. And then I will also need to pump items out of it. Love that you can do that. So now I've got 3 different transport options in this same little space here, which is why I love these conduits. It gets pretty messy without them, so I'm probably going to be making a lot of use of them. That's there, that's there. I don't need to have one there, but I do need to have one here. I decided on that buffer output chest instead of pulling directly from the harvester because it can get backed up pretty quick if you don't have a buffer output chest. So that's the method I'm going there. Now I'm also going to, I think, do a separate drawer setup for all of the output from these things. I might do a controller, I might not. I haven't decided yet. So ultimately, these are going to take the output from here. So if I take all of these, I can do spruce there. I can do, having all sorts of trouble navigating here, oak, spruce, and then rubber can go there. The saplings can go like so. And it looks like I will need at least one more for apples, and probably another one for the rubber that comes out of the rubber trees along with the wood. So that will eventually get filled up and expanded a little bit. And yeah, I'm probably going to have to do a controller, because otherwise I'm going to have to pump into the back of every single one of these. So let me grab a couple more things, I suppose, and I will return. Alright, I think I got everything I need here. So just for the sake of symmetry, I'll do that. And then apples can go over here, next to the oak stuff, and then these two will be rubber, so this will be the rubber output. So that's good enough. And then that can go there. I'll have to light this place up. Like so. I have a nice little tree tower. I need to do that. Will that work? Yeah, that'll work. Alright. So, now to finish connecting everything. That needed to go there. And then I need to wrench this. Now the Yeta wrench, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, if you hold shift and scroll, you can choose which conduits you're looking at. Which is really handy, because sometimes if you're dealing with the whole bundles like that, it's difficult to right click on the right one to do that. So if I do liquids and then right click, that opens up the floodgates to go into the sludge boiler. Now I do believe the sludge boiler is getting power at the moment, so I'm not sure I want to test going over there. I might have to test it in a moment, but it's not pleasant for viewing on a camera because of the whole sickness effect that you can get. It's dizzying at best, so I will not do that at the moment. Good, good, I got rubber. Perfect timing. So the rubber saplings go there, the raw rubber goes there, and the wood goes there. Now I can come by here and use the key to lock all those down so that in case they get emptied, the spots are still available for them. That's the standard practice there. Now, what else was I missing? Let's use the Yeta wrench to look. I've got my liquid pipe going. I've got my item conduit going, which I need to feed over here. And then energy is not going over to the sludge boiler. So that is good, because that means it's not done yet. Alright. So now if we go over here and look, it's full of sludge but it has no energy. So I need to be a little bit careful about reaching this. Like so. Okay. And you can see the particle effects in the air, actually, to show you kind of where its range is. I might have to reach in there and touch it a little bit. Okay. I do have to set this to extract all the time. Now I may need to expand this drawer setup because stuff's going to be coming out of the boiler and filling up. Well, actually, nothing's going to come out of the boiler at the moment because there's nowhere to put items, but it will have to go in here somewhere. So I'll figure that out in a bit. And then the last bit is to connect up this. Like so. That needs to be an input. This needs to be always extract. Good. Now if I wanted to save a conduit here and there, I could remove that one. Good. There. Now this is a relatively functional setup. The last thing I do need to do is put saplings back into the planter. I'm not quite sure how I want to tackle that yet. I don't want to consume stack. Does this take? It does. Perfect. So if you fill it up with stone, the only thing that can go in here are one stack of each of these saplings. So it doesn't just fill up with saplings, and then I don't have any saplings I can use for anything else. So let's do that. This needs to go here. That'll do. And if I set this to insert without any filters, it will just fill up with whatever saplings come out of here. And then the rest will dump into the drawer. I could set this to a higher priority to make sure that it gets saplings first, so they don't go in the drawer first and never fill up the planter. Perfect. Alright. So, that is the basics of my tree farm. Doesn't look very basic at this point because it looks kind of messy and complicated. But that's okay. That is fine. I do need to check this. You're not boiling sludge, which I do believe means that you're backstuffed with inventory. So if I put down another output chest, I believe it can do that. I might need to have a chest next to it for the pipes to take care of that. Not sure yet. Ideally, it can pull directly from the sludge boiler into the drawers, but the drawers are full, so it has nowhere to put the stuff. Once I get drawers for all the stuff that's possible, it would be able to do that just fine. That's why I need that buffer chest to actually make the drawers. But I will do that later, off camera, because it takes a long time for the sludge boiler to cook stuff up, so I'm not worried about that. So the next step is tackling the input of the logs into these things. I do believe I want to have logs handy first as the higher priority before it goes into here, so that as I use wood, I still have wood available. Because I don't know how quickly these go, but I do know that they can burn through a stack of wood in a decent pace. So I don't want to burn through all my wood first and then wait for the creosote to back up before I start getting wood to use. That would just be unpleasant. Because I don't really need these for power quite yet, so I'm not worried about filling them up immediately. I will grab a couple things here, and then I will return. Alright, I think I have everything I need. If not, oh well. Since I need to expand this drawer setup, just slightly, I got this more spruce drawers, but I also got this thing called a trim, which basically looks like a drawer. If I can place it down, there we go. It looks basically like a drawer, but it doesn't actually store any items. And you just basically use it to connect your drawer setup. So you can expand it out like so, and the drawers will fill up automatically with the items. So these are the ones that appeared, sand, dirt, and clay, from the sludge boiler that had run just a little bit and collected a few things. So as the sludge boiler runs, more stuff is going to appear in these. I will probably need more because I saw, I think it was 5 pages of items, which means I believe there were 2 items per, so 10 items total. So this can expand a little bit more, and they will just fill up as they go, and that will be the end of that. Now, the other thing I did was I grabbed some item conduits, or some more of them, and I found the bottom of my coke ovens, like so. Come on. There we go. And then I can hook these up here. And then I can run these all the way this way to connect up to the main system. Now I'm going to set these to insert but lower priority. And ideally, these should just take anything that can be cooked up in here, which should only be the different types of logs. And since they're low priority, this should fill up first, and then at that point I don't care which logs go in here, so it can take any one of these and turn them into charcoal and creosote. So that's a simple little piece of automation that ideally should work, but I won't have any clue until I fill these up. And that's 32 stacks of logs. So I'm not worried about it in the near future, but I wanted to get that in so that I didn't have to worry about it, and that these coke ovens can just start cooking eventually. Now, I'm not positive if the bottom slot works here, because some of these machines only take items in or push items out based on the sides that you're using. So this might take logs in the bottom, and I might be able to pull out the charcoal from the bottom as well, but it might not let me. So I might need to do some testing and figure out if it can do all from the bottom, which would be great. If it can't, I will have to go up to the top and do some automation from the top there, and then figure it out from there. So that's nice. I don't need to worry about this whole setup for quite some time now. It's already gotten me quite a bit of wood, And I've already used most of it on those drawers that I just built down there, so that's fine. I have one piece of trim left. I don't need it, but that's okay. I will put it there, and then completely forget I put it there and wonder why I can't put an item in there in the near future. That will happen, I guarantee it, because I'm just like that. That's okay. So, I don't have too terribly much else planned for today, but one thing I do want to get is a sawmill. I don't know exactly where I'm going to hook this up yet, or how I'm going to automate it, but I will, eventually. The sawmill is good in that it takes a log and cuts it down into more planks than you would normally get. You normally only get 4 planks for one log. This will give you 6 planks for one log, and it will give you some sawdust as an output, which can then be used to cook up into charcoal, this is the sawdust that you get, which you can compress into sawdust, or you can make paper out of it, or you can make useless sponges out of it. You can also use it for phytogrow, etc. So it will be handy to have some of that sawdust in case I need it. It also would be very handy to get more planks out of each of my logs to kind of maximize my output. At some point, I probably will not care about that anymore, because I will have so many logs that it won't matter anymore. But for now, it will be nice to have. And I'm running out of places to put it. How about right there for now? Sure, why not? The other thing that's nice, I don't have one right now, so I'll just do this instead. If I put a rubber log in here, I will get more planks out of it than I normally would, and the secondary output instead of sawdust is more rubber. So if I need a ton of rubber, I can cook that up with the logs and get more than I'm getting out of the farm. Because at the moment, I think I've only had 1 rubber tree grow, possibly. Looks like 11 wood, so possibly 2. And I have gotten 11 rubber. So you get 1 per log that you chop down. So it's alright. It's not great. So if I saw them up, I might get more rubber out of the deal. Depends on how much I need. I don't know yet. Rubber can be used for torches as well, as I mentioned, and it can be used as a fuel source if I really need to just throw it into the burner to let it do stuff. Not worried about it. I got my first piece of netherrack. Hooray! It's not a good source of netherrack, so I'm probably going to have to go to the nether and start farming that there, I think. I'm not positive, actually. I did some reading on this pack. Not much, just to keep a little bit of surprise, but I saw hints that there might not actually be anything in the nether for me. It might just be a place where I can go and build up another fort like this and get some stuff spawning, like nether mobs that I wouldn't normally build to get in the overworld. So, if that's the case, my first trip to the nether will be very uneventful. If that's not the case and there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, then I might die a horrible, horrible death. Who knows? We'll find out when I get there. But for right now, I'm not worried about that, because I refuse to touch the nether without flight. And I do need to delve into flight sometime soon. The problem with flight is there aren't too terribly many ways to get it. I could get the Flugel Tiara from Britannia, but that's way, way endgame. Like, I have to kill the bosses to get it. I could also do none of those things, because those are RF tools, don't worry about that. I can use the Dark Solarium jet plate, but that is quite the build to get these things cooked up. So I'm probably going to have to go with a jetpack. The other flight alternative is everyone's favorite angel rings, but those can't be built until I get another star, so that's not happening anytime soon. I could do a glider setup. I'm not quite sure I trust myself with the glider in the nether. The other option is, I think there is an option in Thaumcraft, but I don't quite know how to use it. I've never had a chance to use it before, so I'll have to do some research on what flight options I want. I usually prefer creative flight, just because I don't like the whole hovery bounciness of a jetpack. I might need to anyway. We'll see. Because ultimately, to advance in Thumbcraft, I'm going to need to get down to the Void, which I can't see currently because I've actually made quite a bit of land for myself. The Void down there, I did do my testing in my single player, and I did confirm that the nodes that I need are down at the Y level 0-ish, something like that. So I'm going to need to get down there safely so I can get the nodes. I don't know how I'm doing that yet, but I'll save that for another day. Probably another rainy day, knowing this place. But for right now, that pretty much takes care of it. I did have my auto farm setup going, and the automation and the storage and all that fun stuff, so I got a little bit accomplished today. I might do an automated food farm next, just because the book says I have to. Speaking of the book, let's see if we've done anything useful. Arcane crafting table, research table, and crucible. Hey, I did that. Discover all the aspects. No, not so much. Not quite yet. I did do a lot of scanning off camera, and I have discovered quite a few of them, but I think I'm missing a couple, so I'm not going to count that yet. The rest of these are all too high for me. Botania, I haven't done anything useful. Craft a tiny potato and name it Shia LaBeouf. You know what? Let's do that. Let's do that, because I have no reason to put that off. So let me grab a potato, run over to my pool of mana here, simply drop him in, and get a tiny potato. This is an adorable little guy. He just sits there with a smile on his face, bouncing all over. And the entry for the book for him is actually quite amusing. Tiny potato, a potato friend for all of us. It's a tiny potato. It believes in you. You can do the thing. So you kind of know where it's getting at with the Shia LaBeouf thing, with his meme that he created recently. I think I do need an anvil to rename him, though. So, do I have an anvil? I don't have an anvil. Oh dear. That's alright. That's alright. We can have a bouncy little potato friend right here, and then I will rename him at a later time. So, I have not done any witch stuff, and this is all crazy high level stuff. And I've not done the traveling stuff. I'm still trying to start this. I have upgraded my mob farm to kill monsters automatically, thank you very much. I have not technically made obsidian with a stone barrel, but I don't think I have any intention of doing that, because I have obsidian through other methods. I have obsidian coming in from the loot bags, and I have obsidian coming in, which I can easily switch out with this igneous extruder if I needed to. Technically haven't done it yet, so how about I not mark it off? I may end up making some form of obsidian farm in the future, depending on how much I need of it. I don't think I need too terribly much, but we'll see. So I'll leave that one as it is for now. The rest of the stuff I have not done. I have been doing off the book for quite some time now, so that's alright. I've got stuff that I need to get done without the books helping me, so I will call that a good day, and then I will ponder the flight situation and get back to you at some time later. But for right now, see ya!